Hi everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk Scents. It's been a bit of a break. It's summertime, holidays, family time, all of that jazz. Appreciate your patience. I've been actually trying to get hold of some wider selection of fragrances and really rack my brain about some of the ones that I really do like, not just focusing on the negatives, not just focusing on the ones that I feel are overhyped, but actually introducing to you some of the lines, some of the fragrances, some of the styles and brands that I really do appreciate and like. And in front of you here you see two of them, both from NISHANE. A little bit different in their take on things, but they are from their X range. So those of you who know NISHANE know that they are a niche designer. I'd call them more niche, but they're really well respected fragrance house, I believe, based in Istanbul, over in Turkey. I'd love to visit there. I love going to Turkey. I love Istanbul as a city, the people, and I'd love the brand as well. I do like their offerings. Now, the reason I bring this to your attention, and I'll give you the backstory behind why I've actually got these. I don't have many niche or higher priced fragrances, but I do appreciate them and I will purchase them if I feel I need to. And that's where the story with these two comes in. So from the outset, you've got Wulong Cha from NISHANE, and you've got Annie X, and the both of them are the X versions. I'll get into what that means in a little while, but I'll give you the backstory as to why I actually have these and how I got hold of them. Now, simply put, I was at a well-known designer fragrance store in the UK trying and testing out from all sorts of brands. They had Louis Vuitton, they had Clive Christian, they had Mason Crivelli, they had Creed, they had the Mind Game selection. They had so many different offerings. And what I kept coming back to time and time again, and this spoke to me at that time when I was going through them, I kept coming back to the NISHANE table to go back to smelling their fragrances. And in particular, these two on the day stood out to me. I already have had my nose and tried Annie, the original. I love it. The beautiful, sweet, succulent vanilla bomb that Annie is. I haven't got Annie in my collection because I feel I have a clone or dupe that is sufficient enough to scratch that itch, which is, I believe, Spectre Ghost. I'll bring that in at some point. However, what I do not have and aren't able to get hold of, and I can't even recommend any clones or dupes or similar offerings that are falling within the lower price tag of the X range. And again, what spoke to me was if I kept coming back to smelling these, and I really stood out for me above and beyond all the other offerings from all the other design houses, it's made me realize that if you like something, if you truly appreciate it and you love the way it smells, and you walk away thinking, you know what, that's sticking in my mind, then if you can afford to purchase it because you've tried it, you've loved it, you've liked it. And I'm always speaking about trying before you buy. So whether you test it in store, whether you get a sample, whether you get a decant, you need to try before you spend that money on whatever it may be, cheaper alternative fragrance or something more expensive. And therefore I decided to bite the bullet, not purchase it from stores. Some of you might think that's cheeky, but hey ho, these big stores do have a huge markup on these things. And the second reason for this is I did purchase these online. I think from the same place. I won't mention the website. But I waited and I got hold of a voucher code. Now, they're not cheap, but in UK pounds, I ended up purchasing Wulong Cha first. That was harder to find the larger bottle of at a good price. The 50ml, as you can see, it's thinner, slighter. So this is the 50ml offering, was, I think, priced at over £200. Way over that. Anyhow, I managed to get hold of a voucher code and also combine it with the discount they were offering on the 50ml and get it for around £140 for the 50ml, which I thought was brilliant at the time. So I purchased it, couldn't find it any cheaper anywhere else. It is one of the more expensive ones price per mil in my collection, but I loved it so much. I'll go into the scent in a section in a moment. And then Annie X, a week later, I got it, I think from the same place, and they must have seen what I was looking at. Annie X I kept in the basket, and I noticed the 100 ml was reduced hugely, and I could combine it with a voucher code, and that brought it down to, again, £140. So I managed to get the 100 ml of Annie for the same price as Wulong Cha X, but that's only 50 ml. So I had to buy it. I had to go for it. I knew I wouldn't get it at a better price, and it wasn't available anywhere else. And I love the scents. Now, do I wish I got the 100 ml in this? Yes, because it's not as strong, and I will probably go through this quicker and use more of it compared to Annie. And I'll go into the scents and what you can expect from them. Now, I'll start with Wulong Cha. It is a beautiful tea fragrance. Those of you who may have heard of the original Wulong Cha, it is a tea fragrance, and that's what it does brilliantly. It's not, I believe, as spicy as you'd find Louis Vuitton Imagination or the dupes of Imagination. But one thing that stands out, and I will refer to throughout this video, I'll try to keep it short and to the point, is NISHANE are known for their blends and are known for their really high quality ingredients used. And the only reason I mention that is in these two fragrances, you can notice the transition between notes. I don't say that very often with many fragrances, if any. You notice notes, but it's hard for me to describe. But the transition between the notes is just so beautifully done. It's something you've got to experience and try. And I'll make an example of this. So Wulong Cha and the X series, how does it differ from the main original? Because they have Wulong Cha standard and Annie standard. What they do is they have been released, I believe, hopefully I'm correct in saying this, they've released, they've used the same DNA as the original, but they've made them more vibrant and fresher off the top. So they've rounded them off and made them possibly the similar scents to the original DNA, but more accessible and more able to be used on a wider variety of occasions, but also throughout the year as well. And the reason I say that, both of these have the original DNA in the base and the dry down, but the openings have an addition of a citrus opening. Slightly different, and I'll talk to you about what that is, but it means that they're slightly fresher, slightly more invigorating, slightly more pleasing and pleasurable. And to me anyway, it does mean that longevity isn't as long lasting as the originals. However, they're still very good. The quality's there. They don't last similarly, so you'd expect a tea fragrance or a fresh tea fragrance not to last as long as a vanilla bomb, and essentially that's the case. But I'll talk about them individually. Let's start with Wulong Cha X. Now, in terms of notes, you get the beautiful, beautiful dry down of the tea, the green tea. It also has some, in the deep dry down from Fragrantica, listings of musk and fig. Maybe you get tea. It's got magnolia and thyme in there in the mid notes, but in the opening notes it's listed as having bergamot, yuzu, Litsi Kubeba, don't know what that is, mandarin and orange. Now I'll tell you what I get, because I'm going to overly simplify it. Maybe not the greatest way of experiencing and explaining it, but what I get, and I'll have to precursor this by saying I am a tea and fig kind of guy. I love tea fragrances. They relax me. The note of tea is so appealing to me because I find it so relaxing, so calming, and therefore it needs, it really does appeal to me. When you talk about tea fragrances, a lot of the time people go towards Louis Vuitton Imagination. I've already talked about that and its dupes. Don't feel that the price really reflects excitement for me. But what NISHANE and Wulong Cha does is it just puts a huge smile on my face. I always keep going back to smelling my arm, my wrist, wherever I've sprayed it, my clothes, and I just get a pleasing smile because I know that I smell nice. Now, I don't put this on to project and get others to smell me. I mean, at the beginning of the first probably half hour, 45 minutes, it does project quite well, not massively, but it does get closer to a skin scent and a closer intimate scent quite quickly. I'd say that. But the composition is absolutely beautiful. And the reason I say that, so I'll give it a spray. Straightforward spray here. Quite good, you know, in terms of atomizer. You get a good amount on you. Now, what I will say is off the bat, you get, and again, I'm going to oversimplify this, but you get a beautiful citrus note. By citrus, I don't mean a complex citrus. It is the best way to describe as close to as slicing a lemon in half and maybe slicing a little bit off. A wedge, a lemon wedge is what I'd say. Not even cutting it in half and squeezing it. No. It is so soft and delicate in its lemon sense that it really makes you appreciate how well it's done when you compare it against other citrus openings. The reason I say that is it's not the bombshell of citrus or lemon pledge opening that you get in some other designer fragrances or clones. Lemon, if you've tried a lot of fragrances that have a citrus opening, particularly lemon or lemony scents, you know, you got Club de Nuit, lemon pledge, horrible bleachy kind of openings, it's like a cleaning product, that is. And you also get some designer fragrances that have lemon in them that just don't do it too well. That they're either too lemon. Even Louis Vuitton, some of their citrus openings remind me of lemon sherbet. Lemon sherbet. I don't know in other countries, but in England you get those lemon sweets, hard candy sweets, and the inside is full of sherbet that makes your mouth, you know, tingle and whatever. That smell of sherbet, that powderiness, lemoniness, is what I get from some lemon fragrances. Or I get the cleaning product smell. What I find from Wulong Cha is they've made it as photorealistic as lemon as you possibly can. It's so soft and delicate, but creamy and smooth. And what it reminds me of, this fragrance reminds me of, it won't excite you the way I explain it, but it's beautifully put together. A tea fragrance that has all of the relaxation of the tea, but when you go ahead and slice a lemon or whatever, whether it's a wedge or you peel a bit more and you just put that in your tea, so you're having your chamomile lemon or ginger tea, whatever, and then you slice a bit of lemon and pop that in there. It's that fresh hit of lemon that you get, but it's not sharp, it is not cloying, it doesn't hit the back of your nose or throat. It is the softest, most delicate lemon that I've smelled. Now, the transition eventually after about, let's say, 15-20 minutes, yeah, it sticks around for a little bit of time. It transitions and you start getting the tea. It's so weird seeing this and smelling this as it happens. You start getting the tea. And then by the 45 minute mark, you start transitioning more and more into the tea, where eventually the lemon pretty much goes to the background and the tea comes to the forefront. And it's not a peppery tea, it's not a spicy tea, it's just a pleasant, relaxing tea note with a fresh green opening. And that's the best way I'd describe it. It's a citrusy green opening that is so well finely balanced, has one of the best transitions I've ever noticed with such great ingredients. And that speaks to them as a house, because I've heard from many reviewers that have way more knowledge than I do that they do use top quality ingredients, and it shows, it certainly shows. So that is Wulong Cha X. Now, I'd say when can you use it? All year round, essentially, more for the spring, more for the pace, maybe the summer. It's not a beastly projecting monster. It's a relaxing fragrance that stays close to you in terms of sillage and projection, but it's one for you to enjoy rather than others. Others may smell it off you in the first hour with that citrus opens, but as soon as it settles into the tea. Now, what I will say is, like many fragrances, it smells slightly different. The tea scent does, particularly when you spray it on clothes or a strip compared to your skin. So when I smell it off my skin, I get a deeper tea note. My skin chemistry gives that off. Whereas on my clothes, I spray quite a fair bit on my clothes because I have sensitive skin. I get more of a softer, relaxing, calmer, creamier tea note. It's probably more pleasing off my clothes than it is off my skin. In what I prefer, it's beautiful on either or, but that's also good to realise and know, because when I walked out the store, I'd only really sprayed my clothes and a tester strip, and it was fabulous. Now I am spraying my arm and my wrist, and I have had it on today. Slightly different, but that goes for every single fragrance. Your skin chemistry will differ. I still love this. It's one of my favourites. Do just realise it's not going to be a powerhouse fragrance, but it is going to be one of the most blended, most appeasing fragrances. If you like the notes of tea, of fig, there's a tiny bit of fig, not a lot in there. Tea, mainly tea and citrus. Boy, and you want something that beats them all, then this would be top of your list. Trust me, on the possibly my favorite tea based fragrance out there, and I will certainly be using more and more of this. And I think it would also work fantastic as a layering scent. Because essentially it's got the characteristics to not overpower anything but have a great base layer to it. And therefore I'll give that a try. Not sure what with, but I will try that out. But I can see myself going through this quite quickly. Anyhow, moving on, because we have Annie X here. Now, Annie X is a fabulous, fabulous, well-known... Well, Annie itself is known as to be one of the, if not greatest, vanilla-based fragrances. It's got way more going for it than just vanilla, but when you say vanilla, that's what people think of, and that's what I do. Now, when I first smelt the original Annie, I loved it. It was a winter autumnal scent for me, but I loved how it performed, the quality of vanilla. It was done perfectly well. Again, fantastic composition and use of ingredients and materials to make it smell so nice. And therefore this has the backbone of Annie, but again, it's the X version, so it's been made brighter off the opening. It transitions into Annie, but for the first hour and a half, expect it to be far more greener than anything else. It's got a citrusy opening, yes, but it has a load of notes according to Fragrantica. I'll see if I can get them up and let you know what they are. However, I don't think it has as many. I mean, I'll have to find them, but bear with me. What I will say is it's got loads going for it. So essentially, what do we have here? Yes, I mean, there's too many to read out. I don't know whether I'll get many of these, but yeah, lemon, bergamot, ginger, melon, cardamom, water notes, pink pepper. That's just the top, right? Mid notes: green apple, blackcurrant, patchouli, lavender, sage, rose. Not sure about any of that, to be fair. Maybe a bit of rose. Base notes, yes, definitely. Vanilla, sandalwood, cashmere wood, cedar, ambergris, white musk. Yes, definitely. I get top and I get base. That's what I get. But the best way to describe Nishane Annie X is it's Annie, right? But with a greener, fresher opening. So if that intrigues you, and again, the reason why that's impressive is because you can therefore use Annie all year round. It is more of a spring fragrance, this, but it can be used equally all year round. Spring, summer. I won't use it in the highest of heats, but that greenness at the top is still good. It does transition eventually into that vanilla scent, but it's more widely available to be used for certain occasions and at certain seasons as well. Anyhow, let's spray it. Let's see what you get. Not sprayed it on this back of the hand. Good amount there. Now this is much more projecting. You will smell this in the room. You will smell this a fair bit away. You don't have to get very close. Annie has always been like that. And again, on your skin, compared to clothes and on a test strip, it will be slightly different. I find on my skin, and this again, you'll think, well, how does he explain it? The best way I can explain it, on my skin, I get more of a greener opening than I do on test strip or clothes. I get more of a citrusy opening on a test strip and clothes. On my skin, I get more of a greener opening. And by that greenness, I literally mean green. I mean, and it took me back to this place, it's not an exciting time, but it just made me realise, where have I smelt that before? When you've cut a lawn or grass and it's a little bit damp, not hugely wet, not soggy, just a tiny bit damp, you've cut it and you're leaning down to either rake up the excess grass or pop it in a bag or take it out the lawnmower, that fresh hit and scent you get from that cut grass is what I get off the top of this, off my skin. Some of you might like that smell, some of you might not know it at all, some of you might do, but that's exactly the greenness I get off this, off the top, for the first few, well, I'd say half an hour, 45 minutes even. I get that. It does maybe even up to an hour. It stays around. And then slowly, just like I said with Wulong Cha, the transition is absolutely phenomenal because you feel it moving to the mid, it getting more and more vanilla heavy, and then eventually it turns into that vanilla fragrance with a bit of greenness in the back. It just does a swap over. It's fantastic to smell in that sense of feeling the transition, smelling them. So up close, right, if you put your nose up against where you've smelled it, that's what I smell, the greenness, the grass, the earthiness in that sense, with a sweetness in the background from the vanilla. If I smell it in the air, I get more vanilla than I do get the greenness, a bit of greenness, and citrus as well. But it's so interesting, and I feel this, if you like Annie and you love it, but you wish you could use it all year round, and you just think it's a bit too cloying, a bit too vanilla, a bit too sweet, then Annie X is certainly something to worth try. Again, try before you buy. Decants are available. I've got some links below, but do what you can to try them. And these are the two that stood out. I know they do many more fragrances, but I'm so pleased that I purchased these because I believe I will be going through them. I do love Annie. Now, I did say the original Annie I haven't got, and I haven't purchased that yet. I think this will do me. I don't think I need both. And the reason why is I've got Spectre Ghost, which I feel the one with the bullet hole through the bullet through the cap. One of my best all-time top tier clone fragrances for Annie because it does such a good in terms of longevity, projection. It's got that beautiful note of vanilla amongst other notes. It's not on par with NISHANE, but for the price it's great. Anyhow, that isn't similar to the X because the X has the greenness and so on to it. So if you want something fresher, more vibrant, more zesty off the top, more green, then definitely get your nose on this Annie X. I'm really looking forward to using this on many occasions whenever I want that vanilla hit, but I don't want it to be just singular. I want it to have a transition from freshness and greenness and then transition into that settling down of the pleasant sweet nature of vanilla. So I hope I've done them justice. If you want to know any more, let me know. There are others that I would love to get my nose on from NISHANE. Let me know what you advise and what you suggest to try, because they've got so much in their collection. They've got a bright blue one for the summer that I really wanted to try. They didn't have that in store. They had all your others. I know they've got many others. I will try them at some point. But these two are some of my great fragrances, and they will go on the list of real appeasing fragrances and ones from designer houses that I feel are worth the money. But like always, try before you buy, and do try to get them at a discounted rate if you possibly can. Definitely decant them. Let me know what you think. Which one do you prefer? Do you have these in your collection? Do you have any other NISHANE ones? Do you have any alternatives that you think are just as good, if not better? What do you think of NISHANE as a house? Thumbs up, 2 thumbs up from me. This is the watch today. Timex. Nothing too grand, but love the green dial. Thought it went well with NISHANE X. There we go. Right, that's the X collection there. Take care, guys, and I will speak to you soon. Cheers, bye.